Speedy Gonzalez here with our second test of the new SEB NEO-X. Today we're going to compare the NEO-X to my Neo Special Edition. As you can see, they're very similar in finish, and we're going to convert this one back to where it will be legal to shoot Benchrest. David Parks, on my other video, took his shot at this past weekend, came in second at Tad Emmert's 1,000-yard shoot, won $1,200, so he's pretty happy with it. That's a down payment for his new NEO-X that he's going to put in with SEB to date. Anyways, we're going to convert this one back to Benchrest, and then we're going to show you some of the things I like about this one, and hopefully we'll like about this one. We'll find out shortly. Speedy Gonzalez here again, back from the other side of the camera. I'm sorry that in this description you don't get to see my lovely face, but you'll just have to grin and bear it. As you can see, the new NEO-X, this happens to be the polished version, which of course I love. It's very similar to the finish, or identical to the finish, of my SEB Special Edition. The SEB Special Editions are all polished aluminum, and of course, if you don't shoot good, at least look good doing it. And for sure, you'll look good doing it with this one. The carrying handles on the new SEB NEO-X are mounted to this real nice little adaptation up here on the top. You have your windage and elevation handle. It's got a what F-Class John calls a honey dipper handle on it, and of course David Parks, the gentleman who shot this weekend, happens to own an apiary company that distributes bees all around the country to pollinate all sorts of different plants and almonds, orchards, and everything else. He said he's going to keep this handle regardless of whether he buys one of the SEB NEO-X's or not. So I'm going to have to hide it from him before he gets back. And of course, on the end here, you can see the X. It also has your control arm mounted to the back. The control arm allows you to, once you got it into your prone position or your seating position, like us point blank Benchrest used to do, which all the F-Class people call us, allow us to make all the adjustments needed to the rest without having to any longer get out of position. So if I wanted to raise the bridge here on the NEO-X, I would put the control arm in here. I would break this loose, and this would allow me to come up or down. And if I wanted to loosen the centerpiece here that pivots to allow you to get your final adjustment pointing at your target and your rifle in alignment with your rear bag, you loosen this one, and you can see it pivot. This comes off once you've taken your handles off. You loosen these two knobs. And you remove this. And you put your knobs back on. Try not to throw them on the floor. Don't tell SEB I did that. And again, this allows us to make sure it's loose. Yep. And by placing this control arm here, we have total control from our prone or our sitting position at the bench, and we no longer have to get up and make adjustments. I'm taking this to the top because we're going to change these F-Class bags out, which aren't legal in Benchrest, to these little bags, which are legal in Benchrest, as I well know, since we got disqualified at our first match last year because we had these in there, and the other guys didn't have them, so they didn't like it. Anyways, we'll lock this in place for the time being, just so it doesn't fall on it. And we'll attach our windage and elevation arm. This is a collet. That's just how easy it is. You can see I'm doing this one hand. And I'm going to lock this in place so I can remove this. In just 1 second, I'll go back to my SEB Special Edition. As you can see, if I don't have any of the accessories to attach my carrying handle, I just keep it in the little foam tube it comes in, and then I lower my bridge and let these lock knobs right here keep it in place while I'm traveling. If I want to get it out of there, of course, it's got my initials on there, SG Rifles. Same with this other one. Our motto is, if you don't shoot good, at least look good doing it. So once I've broken those, I can raise my bridge. I can lock them back in place. I can take my little foam tube out, get my handle. As you can see, all these things are highly polished. Anything you get from SEB is just first class. They're just hard to beat it. Even if you get the other ones that are just powder coated, they work just as good. So as you can see, this was the older bag. It's got the little divot here in the center, so it allows, according to the new rules by the NBRSA, allows our guns to ride here. We've got our little bags right here to guide it, and it allows the gun not to start to cant after you get some shots down the road. It keeps everything nice in the line very well. The SEB, I'm going to remove this. I'm going to see if I can do it with one hand since I lost my camera crew. He was out getting some rehab for his heart, and they wanted to keep him in hospital, so there went my crew. So one hand, I should be able to remove these, and there you go, just like that. Just like that. There's one. This little bag slides out of here. This is a new feature that SEB has for filling these bags this year. It's got a set screw that screws into, looks like a piece of Delrin to fill these bags, and you just screw it back in. Very cool. These other ones, you have to take everything apart, the whole top apart, loosen all the screws, and by the time you get it done, it's usually midnight. So here again, look at this. It just slides right out of there, just like that. Oh, I'm sorry. I have a tension screw on the back of these tightened up. Or should I say Dave's got the tension screw tightened up. Now they should just slide out, just like that. 1, 2. And I'll put these other ones back in. Look how easy this is. Just slide this in, just like that. Get the other ones. Slide it in. Like I said, I'm just doing this with one hand. And slide this in to here. I'm going to set this at the 3-inch mark. Do the same on this side. Slide the bag in. It's got like a little dovetail in there, or actually a little T-slot. Let these bags slide right in. And just like that, we're ready to go. So it's got marks on the outside. I don't know if this needs to be on the outside. You see that there's a 3-inch. And I'll go the 3 inches on this side. And that looks like it's about the right width for my bench gun. So we're going to start out right there. We'll just lock it in. Here's the adjustable stop that SEB has. One thing in Benchrest that we don't like putting the gun up against a hard stop like this. As you can see on mine, it's got Velcro in it. And that Velcro on there, with these little light 10.5-pound guns we shoot, oftentimes if you've got the hard forearm up against a hard stop, the inertia of just the firing pin falling can send a shock wave through the stock, hit these things, and then you'll see the gun actually bounce back if you don't have your bags tuned up well with the proper amount of sand. And if you got them too hard, a lot of times you'll see it bounce. So if you remember physics, it's taught by Isaac Newton, to every action there's an equal and opposite reaction. So if you send a shock wave down to the stock and it hits a stationary part, that shock wave wants to come back. And like I said, there's a potential for that gun to jump back. I don't know how critical that is when you're shooting a 16 to 22 pound gun in F class. I haven't really tested it that much, but I would still be concerned about that. So when I shoot this thing, when I get mine, I'll surely have some Velcro around that or on the front of my stock just to minimize that transference of energy from my stock to the stop. But so far, I'm really liking these. So one of the issues that we found with the regular Neos, a lot of the benches that we shoot off of are rather short. And we have a rule that states that our barrel has to extend over the front of the bench. And in the leg position, we've got the rest set up in this scenario. We had a screw here, and then there was another one out here. We just cut the front of this off right here and then remachined it and made it look like that's the way Seb sent it to us. And then, of course, I had to ruin my special edition and drill and tap a hole right here to move this screw back. This way we can really get close to the end of the bench and ensure that our barrel is hanging over. Especially we only shoot 20.5 to maybe 21 3/4 inch length barrels, so they don't stick out very far past the end of the stocks. So this is one thing. This may be short enough. We'll see. If not, on mine, I'll either have to drill a hole or I'm going to try to get Seb maybe to make a shorter leg, maybe one that's about 2 inches shorter than this one, to move this from here to about this position. I don't know if he'll do that or not, but that will surely make it easier for all the Benchrest shooters who buy it. As you can see, this stop right here, the screw should be about right there. If you look at this one, you see where the stop is. It's just right below that. So this one is set back quite a bit further than the one on that rest right there. So I'm going to talk to Seb about that. So far, that's the only thing that I would personally like to see from a Benchrest shooter's point of view. It may not be an issue. I don't know yet. I haven't shot off a regulation bench. Dave's bench is made to suit his needs and not as Benchrest shooters. The Neo has one level on it right here. Of course, your gun covers it up when you place it in the bags. The Neo has three, one on this side of the bags, one on this side of the bags. That's good whether you're right or left-handed shooter, and then one right underneath the bridge right there where you can see it regardless. So like I said, every time you put a gun in the SEB Neo, you cover it up, and if you use that, I don't. I go by how my gun is set up, maybe the level on it. But there are a lot of people that like to see that their rest is level, and they make every effort to make sure that these bags run parallel with everything on there. But we'll try these new bags on this one, see if it's legal or not. I've been disqualified once, may be disqualified again. May have to see if I can put those bags into this rest. We don't know yet. Anyway, we're going to stop right here, and I'm going to, well, let's go. There's a couple of other things that I forgot about. I was so excited about the rest, I'm forgetting some of the stuff that we need to talk about. Right now, it's got the F-class feet taken off, and the F-class feet come in these beautiful little terry cloth pouches, and they screw on to the bottom of these, and then they're held in place with a set screw on. They're very well machined. I can see they've already been scratched up because F-class shooters like to throw $10,000 worth of equipment in the dirt. This one right here, you can see it's kind of slid out of position. I'll loosen this and push it back in. Get it? For Benchrest shooting, we're going to use these little stable feet that you can purchase at Benchrest. Anytime that you shoot on anybody's benches, regardless of even if you're using the F-class feet and don't want to take them off, you can use a stable feet just by putting that point in that little hole, and you'll protect the finish on your buddy's bench or yours at home or the range that you're shooting on's benches. We want to keep everybody happy nowadays. We don't want to leave a bunch of points in their bench from shooting off them. Another cool feature about this rest is that these legs right now are spread out to their maximum width. So you have a lot of room to put things on here. You see I've got the terry cloth pouch, my 3 stable feet, the F-class foot on there. I can even throw the control arm for the new SEB NEO-X. If I've got a bench that I need to get closer to the edge without my feet falling off, I can pull back on this little lever, just like so. Just like so. And then move this foot in, and it'll lock in this position. And so now this rest is similar in footprint to the standard SEB NEO. So for extra stability, you can move this out. And if you need that room on both sides, you can pull that back and move it in. Just that easy. I'm going to keep it out to begin with and see if we can get by with that. The extra stability never hurts. If you are working on the edge of a bench because you're short on space, you can move one leg in and keep the leg from on the inside of the bench out for extra stability as well. The biggest thing I want to check is the control arm right here as far as for our windage and elevation, and see how much more precise I can get my rifle positioned on a target than this one. The SEBs are the best rest that I've ever found. I've shot the Farleys and I've shot some of the other clones of the Farley, and the SEB so far has beat all of them as far as ease of positioning the rifle, coming up to and down on my point of aim, regardless of how the wind is blowing. But even the Neo many times has a little bit of backlash on it. So when if I move to the right and I let go of the ball on the end of the handle, there's just a slight wanting to return from the way or the direction it was moving from. The Farleys and the Farley clones are bad about that too. So, but the Neo has been by far the best of all those. You can control that tension or make it easier and lighter on the SEBs with these 2 knobs right here. I've got mine set. I'm not going to break it loose because right now it's happy, and I may have to shoot it for a while longer until I get my real NEO-X. I've got a chrome one like that coming and a blue one. I like redundancy. Another thing about the Neo as compared to the new NEO-X is that if I want to raise my bridge up or lower my bridge once I'm in position, I have to get out of position, be it prone or sitting at a bench, break these 2 lock screws loose, lower it, and then lock them back in place, sit down and check and see if I'm in the position I wanted to be in, and then maybe break it loose again, either slightly come up or slightly come down. And so if you're trying to do that in a hurry, a lot of times that occupies quite a bit of time, and you have to resettle back into your seat or back into your prone position. There again, that's one of the things I'm really looking forward to on the Neo, where I can be in the sitting position already, and if I want to come up or if I want to come down, I don't have to move out of my position. Same thing if I'm laying prone at the gun. I can just reach over, grab my control arm, move it up or down, and then lock it in place. I've heard you don't have to lock it in place, that you can leave this loose and just push down and it won't move. Whereas this one, typically if you push down it will. Well, that was right, holding pretty good. I've got these clutches adjusted pretty well on mine. I don't like having to get up and get all that stuff set over and over and over again. So I adjust those things to my liking. But anyway, it looks like they weren't kidding. I mean, I'm putting down probably 40 or 50 pounds of weight, and there's no movement whatsoever. Anyway, you can, like I said, once you adjust it, you can lock that in place if you so choose. If your bags aren't aligned with your rifle, that means that either the Delrin pieces with the dovetail on the back, or the ears of your leather bags right here aren't running parallel with the sides of the gun, or maybe it's bumping the stop harder on one side or the other. You can see that this is crooked because you can loosen this and you can slightly pivot the head of the Neo. In the old days, some of the other rests you'll see too, they used to have a large ring on the bottom that you would swivel the entire rest, similar to the new 21st century. But this one, like I said, it's just easy peasy. And lock that in place, and no more movement. So, gotta like it. The only other adjustment that you can do to this rest is to adjust the tension on your windage and elevation arm here. We'll do that after we get a few shots through it. So we'll stop there. I'm going to set up and get the gun in place, do a little bit of loading, and go from there. Speedy here again. Before I set up the gun to load, everybody wants to know how us Benchrest shooters load at the bench or outside in order to shoot outside. This is a real good setup too, not only for us Benchrest shooters, but for any of the F-class shooters or PRS shooters that want to develop a load on the outside. As you can see, we've got the little Fantic Nex L1. This is a little digital powered screwdriver. I charged it once this year and used it all year long, and it still has two of the bars left, so I could go all year with one of this. With this one, I use the 21st century primer pocket uniformer. I use it more after we've uniformed the primer pockets, just to keep the carbon out of the primer pocket once we're reloading. We've got one of the little adapters here that you can buy with the nylon brush to brush the carbon out of the next one right prior to resizing. And it comes with all these little accessories, and it's got a little plug that you can just plug it into your computer or anything else you want to charge it back up. Like I said, I charged it once at the house this year, and I've never charged it all year long. And I've been to all our club matches, the state matches, the Gulf Coast matches, and it's still got power to work. My little Sinclair Arbor Press. We've got the bullets that I make, little 68 grain beauties right there. I won me a lot of stuff this year. This is the Speedy Ultra Bullet Seeder. It's got a micrometer head on it, Michitoyo, a half-inch micrometer head. The beauty of this bullet seeder, is that the pin that seats your bullets never ever comes out of the die, so it never develops any side play on it, and it keeps your bullets in perfect alignment. I no longer make these things because the friend that used to make my bodies for me passed away. So we looked at the Speedy Ultra Bullet Seeder that, like I said, I no longer make, but we do have directions on how to modify one of the new Wilsons to give you the almost exact same performance out of it. Of course, we've got the standard old K&M primer seeder. We've got the Michitoyo caliper with the Hornady adapter on it. Of course, I made my own chamber gauge out of a part of a barrel that's got the shoulder, the neck, the free bore, and the throat in there. So when I take measurements, I'm actually measuring exactly the same dimensions that you're going to find in my chamber. Also, if my turned brass won't fit in here, it's not going to fit in my gun either. We've got our Talent Cell batteries. That's what we use to charge or power the Charge Master 1500. It's housed in a D-Flight case We use these to keep the charge master out of the wind so that we can throw in the outdoors environment. These talent cells, this is a 6,000 milliamp talent cell. It'll power the charge master for about a week. The nice thing about the talent cell, we even use these indoor. We don't use the AC adapters. This provides direct current to the charge master, and you don't get that fluctuation variance from the AC current that you have at the house. You don't have to worry about the fluorescent lights or any other electrical devices when you use this. This thing works perfect on the outside. It throws virtually the same charge every time. This is the drop tube. As you can see, one of these days we'll get to the end of it, that we use to throw 30 plus grains of a bit of ori N133 into our little PPC cases here. That's typically, oops, let's get this in focus here. There we go, here we go. But anyway, anything when you get past 29.5 grains, starts coming up the neck, and once you get powder that far up and you throw it real quick, it'll just overflow and come out and be all over the bench. That's never happened to me, but I've heard stories about it. This is our little cup that we got from, I think, Primal Rights. Of course, it's got the bling in it. Like we said earlier, if you don't shoot good, at least look good doing it. Well, we move over here to our nice, beautiful, solid carbide full-length size die. It's not just carbide bushings in there. It's a solid carbide die. You can almost not use any lube at all on it. The brass, after 4 or 5 sizings, comes out beautiful. Almost looks like it's been polished. It's a custom press to house it. This is the Speedy case trimmer. It's got a beautiful carbide blade on it. Will never ever get dull unless you run it backwards, which I tell people not to do. There's only 2 of these in existence. Chris Covell has the other one. Was in John Lowe's possession, but he passed on, and Chris Covell was the inheritor of that one. One of these days when he's not looking, he may not own it, and I may own 2. Anyways, this is what we use to reload at the bench for either Benchrest matches or our load development. The beauty of it is we can do everything right here in basically the same temperature, humidity, environment, wind conditions, instead of seeing something that looks like it's going to work and then go home, reload, bring it back to the range. They have a different temperature, different humidity, and you know, a lot of times you'll pass up the best load because it won't shoot as good the second time. So anyway, we're going to get back to our bench. You can see the conditions on the range are starting to pick up a little bit. We're not too concerned about groups. We're trying to be more concerned about the function of the new SEB NEO-X, which, I don't know, I might just have to keep that thing. Look how beautiful that is. SEB, I hope you got mine coming. Bye. That's all. Well, we've got some rounds loaded. I've got my Bat 3L in the Scarborough stock set up on the NEO-X. We're going to put a few rounds through here. I left the adjustments a little bit rough so I could adjust it from the sitting position as if I were in a rifle match. And we'll see how easy the adjustments are, and if there's anything that I would hope for in the future. Off to the left over here, you can see the items I use to clean with, the accelerator and the patch out, the lock keys when I'm through cleaning, the JB bore paste if the barrels are getting a little fouled and the accelerator and patch out won't do it in time, the lubricant I use on my locking lugs and on the shroud inside the bolt is a TW25 by Milcom. And then we use the Benchrest Super Bolt Lube on the bolt to keep it slick and sliding forward and rearwards easy. Anyway, we're going to adjust it and see what happens. As you can hear, there's a helicopter flying over right now, so hope it doesn't disturb us too much. So right now, as I'm looking through the scope, I'm a little bit too low, so I'm going to take my control arm, break the bridge loose, come back over here to the other side and make a minor adjustment. And we'll come up. And that looks pretty good right there. And we'll lock it back in place. It looks like the gun is not real square. In the bags, when I look down it, I like to keep my gun perpendicular to the rest stuff here in the front, and right now it's just canted slightly. It looks like it's trying to touch one of the stops more than the other, so we'll adjust that again from the sitting position. Break that loose, swivel my head slightly. Perfect. Tighten it back up, making sure it doesn't move. There you go. I can adjust everything from the sitting position, other than when I got up just to take a look right there. I said I would do that before I sat down anyways. And now we're going to check for the movement on the target, make sure there's no stickiness on everything. Right now, I'm just going to dry fire a couple of times. Kind of get used to it. And the positioning is really quick and precise. I don't feel any of the backlash like I typically do with my other. When I let go of it, it'll typically move in the direction it came from. And I'm holding at 6 o'clock on the bolt. Yeah, I can let go of it and it just holds in the spot I'm putting it. Beautiful. I'm in love. I moved my other SEB off the bench. She's probably not liking what I'm going to say about her after using this one. But I think she's moving out of the house pretty soon. This is just excellent. I can position it, let go of it, it stays exactly where I left it. No wanting to creep back in the direction it came from. If I come down on my 6 o'clock position and let go, it just holds perfectly. And if I come up to my 6 o'clock position, holds perfectly. I like it. So if you can hear, the only thing I don't like, and then again, I take care of that with the application of Velcro to those stops. You can hear that hard stop. I'm not a fan of that at all. But other than that, the rest just moves beautifully. Stays in position, doesn't creep back. There's often times where we want to just fudge inside the bullet hole that we've just shot, and you don't want to fool around too long and lose your condition. So if you've got a joystick style rest where the ball wants to move back away from where you positioned it, or you have to hold it there, after you do that for an entire day, you get tired of holding that in position. And if you move slightly in the process of firing the gun, you wonder why that shot went out. It's usually you. I'm going to shoot a few rounds. I'm going to turn my phone off because I don't want to blow the microphone out like I did the last time I tried this. So I'll shoot a few groups. I'll turn the phone back on, and I'll let you know how it worked through some actual firing. Another thing that I like to do that I will explain in a video later. Let's see if I can bring this phone over here. Is if you'll look, that rest is angled slightly up. That allows my forearm to rest just on the front of the bag instead of the entire bag. A lot of time with these joystick style rests, when you're doing your sighting in, everything, your gun is perfectly flat on the bags, but when you move your joystick up or down, the relation between the forearm and the bag changes, and you get a different release, and it can cause your shots to either go high or low because of that. So as a result, I'll raise my front leg, causing my forearm just to ride on either the front or the rear of the bag. In this position, when I raise it up, the front comes up, the forearm or the front of the bag comes up, and the gun just rests mostly on the front of the bags. Anyways, we'll take a few shots and we'll come back. That's all. Well, we just wrapped up shooting at 100 yards. The conditions were kind of tricky out there. As you can see, the wind's blowing pretty hard. You can see the big windsock up there. And maybe way off in the distance, you can see the flags on the F-class range that belongs to my buddy here, David Park. It's just kind of screaming out there today. Regardless of that, the rest functioned flawlessly. There's nothing I can say bad about it whatsoever. There's one little modification that I would like to see SEB make for me. As I mentioned earlier, we shoot very short barrels, and if you look at this one, when the gun comes back up to battery and the front of the rest is flush with the front of the bench, the barrel just barely clears the front of the bench. If SEB would indulge me and make a shorter front leg or rear leg, I guess depends how you have this thing set up, and move this back to about the position of where this screw is, that would just make it perfect, and nobody would ever have an issue with any of their Benchrest guns with their barrels not hanging over the front of the bench. After I made my adjustment to the tensioning screw here, this thing just worked flawless. Whoever was shooting this before had it set up pretty tight, I guess, for F-class or maybe some long-range Benchrest shooting. But this allows you just to position this gun exactly where you want it. It just moves so smooth. There's no backlash in it, whether you come down or come up to position or come up from the side, and you can actually let go of it and it doesn't move. Where almost all of my other rests have a little bit of backlash. I don't care how much you try to adjust those things, it just there, and a lot of times you just have to hold this thing in place so it doesn't move and induce that backlash back into your group. So this one right here, I was able to move over, hold it in place. I even shot one group that was probably about a 1/4 inch down there in that wind, letting go of this thing. The other group I shot with it was probably about a 190 to a 210. And like I said, that was just moving this over and just slightly keeping my hand on it. I'm still a doubting Thomas and just can't let go of it to really shoot groups to suit my needs. But everything that SEB has ever made so far has just been a beautiful workmanship and craftsmanship. As you can see, I'm a big SEB fan. I even use his rear bags on all my guns. The leather doesn't stretch. You've got a choice of different materials for the ears for the gun to ride in. This thing just rides slick as glass in here. The only addition I make is look in here, you can see the hard felt that I put in there to keep the ears spread to where my gun just rides in here and the ears don't want to close up and lift the gun back up and cause your shots to go down. Other than that, So I may not get this one back. I may just hold on to it and keep it hostage until I get my two. But it's a beautiful rest. Beautiful workmanship. Whatever he's charging for these things, I guarantee you it's damn well worth the money. Give you a trip one more walk around here so you can look at all this magnificent hardware and beautiful workmanship on everything. Fit and finish is just flawless. Anyway, that's all. Keep them small.